Hello everyone, I am Dr. Sudhir K. Today the topic of our discussion is eigenvalues, eigenvectors and diagonalization. Before we go to the main content, let us have some preliminaries. They are vector spaces, basis of a vector space, linear operators on vector spaces, matrix corresponding to a linear operator. A non-empty set X is defined as a vector space over a field F if there is a binary operation plus, which is addition, on X, a multiplication between elements of F and X, that is a vector addition and scalar multiplication satisfying the following properties. X by Z are elements of X, alpha beta are elements of the field F. First condition, X with addition is an abelian group. Alpha X belong to X. If alpha equal to 1, the identity element of the field, then alpha X is equal to X. If alpha equal to 0, the 0 element of the field, then alpha X is equal to 0, the 0 vector in X. Distributive properties, alpha X plus Y equal to alpha X plus alpha Y, alpha plus beta X equal to alpha X plus beta X, alpha beta X equal to alpha beta X equal to beta alpha X. Few examples of vector spaces are: 1. Set of real numbers. Here X equal to R, F equal to R. Set of points on the real plane. X equal to R2, F equal to R. Set of points in the real three-dimensional space. X equal to R3, F equal to R. Set of real valued functions on some set. X equal to set of functions, F equal to R. Set of real matrices of any dimension. X equal to set of matrices, F equal to R. Set of real polynomials on some variable X. X equal to set of polynomials, F equal to R. We can as well consider the field to be the set of complex numbers or the set of rational numbers. But if X itself is a field, then F must be a subfield of X. Linear combination of vectors. Let x1, x2, etc. xn be vectors and alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha n be scalars. The vector alpha 1 x1 plus alpha 2 x2 plus etc. plus alpha n xn is called a linear combination. As an example, any vector representing a point on the real plane can be expressed as a linear combination of the vectors I and j. Similarly, in the three-dimensional space, any vector is expressed as a linear combination of the vectors I, j and k. Linear dependence and linear independence. Let x1, x2, etc. xn be vectors and alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha n be scalars. The vectors are said to be linearly independent if the linear combination alpha 1 x1 plus alpha 2 x2 plus etc. plus alpha n xn equal to 0 implies that alpha 1 equal to 0, alpha 2 equal to 0, etc. and alpha n equal to 0. That is, a linear combination of the vectors equal to 0 vector implies all the coefficients involved are 0. The vectors are said to be linearly dependent if there exist scalars alpha 1 etc. alpha n with at least one is non-zero and the linear combination alpha 1 x1 plus alpha 2 x2 plus etc. plus alpha n xn equal to 0. That is, if there is a linear combination equal to 0 in which at least one of the coefficients is different from 0, then the vectors are linearly dependent. The vectors I, j and k in the three-dimensional vector space R3 are linearly independent. Alpha I plus beta j plus gamma k equal to 0 vector implies alpha I plus beta j plus gamma k equal to 0 I plus 0 j plus 0 k, and that implies alpha equal to 0, beta equal to 0 and gamma equal to 0. From the definition, it is clear that linearly independent vectors are always non-zero vectors. Also, a set containing the 0 vector is always linearly dependent. Linear span of vectors. The set of all linear combinations of the vectors x1, x2, etc. xn is called the linear span of the vectors x1, x2, etc. xn, and it is denoted by the square bracket the set x1, x2, etc. xn. R2, the real plane, is the linear span of the set of vectors ij. R3, the real three-dimensional space, is the linear span of the set of vectors I, j, k. Now we come to an important concept called basis of a vector space. A set of non-zero vectors in a vector space is said to be a basis if it is a linearly independent set spanning the vector space. The number of vectors in a basis is called the dimension of the vector space. In the case the basis is an infinite set, only finitely many basis vectors are used in the corresponding linear combinations to write elements of vector space. So, to write any vector in the vector space, even if the basis consists of infinitely many elements, to write one vector at a time we use only finitely many of the basis vectors, and this comes from the idea of linear combination, because linear combination consists only of a finite number of terms. In our discussion, we restrict to finite dimensional vector spaces only. A vector space can have more than one basis. As an illustration, consider R2. A vector xy equal to x multiplied to 1 0 plus y multiplied to 0 1, which implies 1 0 and 0 1 form a basis of R2. So we can say the set 1 0 0 1 is a basis. It is called the standard basis of R2. The coefficients in the linear combination, which are x and y, is same as the coordinates of the vector. Coordinates are x and y. So such a thing will happen only when the standard basis is chosen, and such a thing will not happen if a basis other than the standard basis is chosen. Another basis for R2. You consider the pair xy equal to x plus y by 2 multiplied to 1 1 plus x minus y by 2 multiplied to 1 minus 1. This is a linear combination of the vectors 1 1 and 1 minus 1, and because you are able to write any vector xy as a linear combination of 1 1 and 1 minus 1, the set 1 1 1 minus 1 is a basis. Vectors of R2 are linear combinations of 1 1 and 1 minus 1. Here the coordinates of the point are x and y, but the coefficients are x plus y by 2 and x minus y by 2. These are different. For the vector space R2, we found the sets 1 0 0 1 and 1 1 1 minus 1 are two different bases. Now consider two different straight lines and two non-zero vectors along these two lines. It is possible to resolve any vector in R2 along these two vectors. What does this mean? Any vector in R2 is expressed as a linear combination of the two vectors considered. So if you consider two straight lines and two non-zero vectors along these two straight lines, it is possible to write any vector expressed as a linear combination of the two vectors you have chosen. Any two non-zero vectors along two different straight lines passing through the origin can be taken as the basis vectors of R2. Since a choice of two straight lines passing through the origin can be done in infinitely many ways, there are infinitely many choices of basis for the vector space R2. Generally, a vector space of dimension at least 2 can have infinitely many bases. Linear transformations. These are special type of functions defined on vector spaces. A function t from x to y from a vector space x into a vector space y over the same field f is called a linear transformation if for any u v element of x and alpha beta element of f, the condition t alpha u plus beta v equal to alpha tu plus beta tv is satisfied. If the vector spaces x and y are same, the function t is called a linear operator. So transformation can have the domain and codomain to be different vector spaces, and operator will have domain and codomain same. Function from the vector space to itself is an operator. The condition t alpha u plus beta v equal to alpha tu plus beta tv can be otherwise stated as t u plus v equal to tu plus tv and t alpha u equal to alpha tu. As an example, consider t from R2 to R2 given by t x1 x2 equal to 2x1 minus x2 2x1 plus 5x2. This is a linear operator on R2. The images of the standard basis vectors are t10 equal to, you make the calculation, you will get it as 2 2, and t01 it is calculated as minus 1 5. So the images of the standard basis vectors are 2 2 the image of 1 0, minus 1 5 the image of 0 1. Let us make a corresponding graph of this operator. I, the element 1 0 is on the x axis. J, the element 0 1 is on the y axis. These are represented by the points I and j. The respective images are 2 2 and minus 1 5. So ti is 2 2 and tj is minus 1 5. T from R2 to R2 was given as 2x1 minus x2 2x1 plus 5x2. The images are written now as linear combinations of the basis vectors. 2 2 equal to 2 multiplied to 1 0 plus 2 multiplied to 0 1. Minus 1 5 is minus 1 multiplied to 1 0 plus 5 multiplied to 0 1. These give the two sets of coefficients as 2 2 and minus 1 5. When these two sets of coefficients are written as the columns, the matrix obtained is, so 2 2 is written as a column, minus 1 5 is written as a column. You get the matrix to be 2 minus 1 2 5. This is the matrix representing the linear operator. So linear operators have matrix representations. So this example tells you how the matrix representation for a linear operator is determined. T from R2 to R2 is given by Tx1 x2 equal to 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2. Images of the basis vectors are T10 equal to 2 2, T01 equal to minus 1 5. The matrix representing the linear operator is T2 minus 1 2 5. Actually, the columns are the images. Image of first basis vector is 2 2, that is the first column. Image of the second basis vector 0 1 is minus 1 5, and that is the second column. So in the earlier statement, the matrix was obtained as the sets of coefficients written as columns. Now it is given the images themselves to be the columns, but such a thing will happen only if you take the standard basis of the vector space. Actually, the columns are images of the standard basis vectors by the operator. The sets of coefficients and the image vectors are same only if we take the standard basis vectors. Now consider the same operator. The matrix 2 minus 1 2 5, we can check, will actually represent the transformation or operator. So the matrix 2 minus 1 2 5 multiplied to the column matrix x1 x2 gives 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2. It tells that the column matrix x1 x2 is transformed to the column matrix 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2, or the image of x1 x2 is 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2. Let us look at it in a different way. The same operator is considered. The unit square is formed. Origin is a vertex. The basis vectors I and j are two vertices. So we complete the square. So unit square formed with origin as a vertex and the vectors I and j as two sides. And what is the image of I? 1 0 was having image, the first column, that is 2 2, and 0 1 was having image minus 1 5. So the images are Ti, which represents the point 2 2, and Tj represented by the point minus 1 5. So if you look at the parallelogram formed with the origin as a vertex, the images as two adjacent sides, we get the parallelogram. So the unit square formed with origin as a vertex and the vectors I and j as two sides is transformed to a parallelogram with origin as a vertex and the vectors Ti and Tj as two sides. In this transformation, the order in which you make a travel along the edges of the unit square is anti-clockwise, and when you make a corresponding travel on the parallelogram following the order of the square, you get again an anti-clockwise direction. That means the unit square is to a parallelogram preserving the order of the vertices. Preserving the order of the vertices. Order as well as direction. And here let us see what will be the case if you have another operator. Consider an operator t x1 x2 equal to x1 plus 3x2 2x1 plus x2. The corresponding matrix you can calculate as 1 3 2 1. The entries or columns of the matrix tell us image of the standard basis vector 1 0 is 1 2 and image of the standard basis vector 0 1 is 3 1, and these points are marked. You get I 1 0 has image 1 2, Ti is the image. The vector j 0 1 has image Tj, which is 3 1. Now the unit square is transformed to a parallelogram. Origin has image origin itself. If you go along the edges of the unit square in the anti-clockwise direction, from origin you are first coming to the point I and then coming to the point vertex diagonally opposite to the origin and then coming to the vertex represented by the unit vector j and then coming back to origin. If you make a movement along the edges of the parallelogram, from origin you move to the image of I, which is to the point Ti, and then to the diagonally opposite point of the origin and then to the image of j and then back to the origin. Here a movement along the edges of the unit square in the anti-clockwise direction is transformed to a movement along the edges of the image parallelogram in a clockwise manner. And see what is the determinant of this matrix. 1 into 1 minus 3 into 2, the determinant is minus 5, a negative number. In the case of the earlier transformation, the earlier operator, the determinant was 2 into 5 minus 1 into 2, so 2 into 5 plus 2, 10 plus 2, 12, it's a positive number. So if the matrix corresponding to the operator has got a positive determinant, you get the order preserved in the image of the unit square. If the determinant of the matrix corresponding to the operator is negative, the order is opposite. If you make an anti-clockwise order in the unit square, on the image the order will be clockwise. So determinants are playing certain role in the geometry of transformation, whether positive or negative. That tells you the order. Changing the order means determinant is negative. Following the same order means determinant is positive. Suppose a basis different from the standard one is taken. So we have already seen for R2 the vectors 1 1 and 1 minus 1 are basis vectors. So using these as basis vectors, we want to know how to get the corresponding matrix. Any vector x1 x2 can be expressed in terms of the basis vectors as x1 x2 equal to x1 plus x2 by 2 1 1 plus x1 minus x2 by 2 1 minus 1. Here the images of the basis vectors, not the standard one, images of the basis vectors T11 equal to 1 7 and T1 minus 1 equal to 3 minus 3. So 1 7 and 3 minus 3 are the images of the present basis vectors 1 1 and 1 minus 1 respectively. Now T11 equal to 1 7 is written as a linear combination of the basis vectors as 4 times 1 1 minus 3 times 1 minus 1, and the image of the other basis vector T1 minus 1 equal to 3 minus 3 equal to 0 multiplied to 1 1 plus 3 multiplied to 1 minus 1. The images of the basis vectors are expressed now as linear combination of the basis vectors. The corresponding sets of coefficients are the coefficients corresponding to the basis vector 1 1 are 4 and minus 3. The coefficients corresponding to the basis vector 1 minus 1, image of 1 minus 1, are 0 and 3. These coefficients are written as columns to get a matrix, and this matrix will represent the operator based on the new basis 1 1 and 1 minus 1. Let us make a geometrical marking of this. T11 equal to 1 7. A is the point representing 1 1. The image is 1 7 TA, and 1 minus 1 is the other basis vector. Its image is 3 minus 3 along the same line. So A and B represent the basis vectors, which are points 1 1 and 1 minus 1. Their images are TA and TB. Suppose a linear operator be given and a basis vector be chosen. Choose these basis vectors in a specific order of your choice. Write the image of the basis vector in terms of the basis vectors themselves. So each basis vector will have image. The images are expressed in terms of the basis vectors. These image vectors are obtained and written as the respective columns to get the matrix corresponding to the linear operator. Using the standard basis of the vector space, this matrix can be easily determined by writing the images of the basis vectors as the respective columns. But if you use a basis other than the standard basis, instead of writing the images, the corresponding sets of coefficients are written to get the matrix. Now there is a question: when you write the matrix, what must be the best choice of the basis of the vector space? So the natural temptation would be to choose the standard basis. This need not be the best choice. Our experience prove this need not be, that is, the standard basis need not be the best choice to represent the operator as a matrix. The search would be for that basis, making the corresponding matrix the most simple one. So we would like to choose a particular basis, and the corresponding matrix of the operator will be the simplest one. In this context, we come to the concepts of eigenvalues and eigenvectors. So eigenvalues and eigenvectors become helpful at this stage. Consider the operator T from R2 to R2 given by T x1 x2 equal to 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2, the same operator we considered earlier. Let the basis vectors be 1 1 and 1 minus 1. T11 equal to 1 7 and T1 minus 1 equal to 3 minus 3. So here we get T1 minus 1 equal to 3 minus 3 equal to 3 times the basis vector itself. The image of the vector 1 minus 1 is a scalar multiple of the same vector 1 minus 1. The image vector is along the vector itself. So there are operators having such property. Let T from x to x be a linear operator defined on a vector space X over a field F. A scalar lambda is said to be an eigenvalue if there exists a non-zero vector x in X such that Tx is equal to lambda x. The vector x is said to be the eigenvector corresponding to the eigenvalue lambda. For the linear operator we considered above, T x1 x2 equal to 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2, 3 is an eigenvalue and 1 minus 1 is the corresponding eigenvector. Tx equal to lambda x, where lambda is a scalar and x is a non-zero vector. Here lambda is an eigenvalue and x is the corresponding eigenvector. The action of a linear operator on its eigenvector is just a scaling with the eigenvalue that we have seen in the case of the earlier operator. The eigenvector 1 minus 1 was multiplied by 3 when acted by the operator T. So the action of a linear operator on its eigenvector is just a scaling with the eigenvalue. Scaling operators, that is enlargement or compressions, are the simplest type of linear operators defined on vector spaces. It is important to note that the only linear operators on R are multiplication with real numbers. So in other words, we can say the search for eigenvalues and eigenvectors are to find those vectors which are sharing the property of linear operators on R in the vector space. So on the vector space, if you have an operator, you are trying to find the vectors or subspaces of the vector space in which the operator behaves in the same manner as operators on R. That is why the corresponding operator becomes very simple if the basis vectors are chosen as the eigenvalues. We will see the details. Consider the figure. we place the figure on the xy plane. And suppose you are applying a linear operator. Because points get changed by the linear operator, the image also becomes different. So you get the photograph sheared to the right side. But in the shearing, the blue line is not having any change. It's not getting any change. The red line, the red arrow, it is tilted to the right. So it is, the image is sheared towards the right. So in the shear operator, the red arrows change direction, but the blue arrow does not change direction. And since the length of the blue arrow is same as that in the original one, we can say the scaling towards that direction is 1 only. Scaling to the level of 1. That is no enlargement, no compression. In the technical language, we can say the horizontal direction gives the eigenvector and the corresponding eigenvalue will be 1. Let us look at the action of a shear operator in a different way. You can see a shear operator acting on the plane R2. The action of the shear operator transforms certain points and certain lines on the plane, but points along the line represented by the blue arrow remain in the same line. Points along the line represented by the red arrow go to some other line after the operator is acted. So we can say an eigenvector corresponding to this shear operator will be along the blue arrow and cannot be along the red arrow. Now consider the linear operator defined by the matrix 1, 0.5, 0, 1. Here the images of the standard basis vectors are T10 equal to 10 and T01 equal to 0.51. This operator will shear the unit square having vertices origin 10, 11 and 01 to a parallelogram having vertices 00, 10, 1.51 and 0.51. So the unit square is this origin 10, 11 and 01. The image of this unit square is a parallelogram 00, 10, 1.51, 0.51. So the unit square is sheared to a parallelogram. If we keep the photograph of Mona Lisa on this unit square, you can get a sheared photograph. So that's the effect of shearing. And here you can check the order in which you move along the unit square. First origin, then the vector I, which is 10, 11, j, 01, and then back to origin. So you move along the edges of the unit square in an anti-clockwise manner. If you consider the image, which is a parallelogram, the respective image points are traversed in the anti-clockwise direction itself. Let us see what is the determinant of this matrix. The determinant of this matrix is 1, positive. So determinant is positive, and so you get the preservation of order. Here the horizontal line is unchanged. The vector 1 0 has itself as the image. So we can see 1 0 to be an eigenvector, and the corresponding eigenvalue will be 1. So you get the shearing operator to have one eigenvector which is in the horizontal direction, that is along the vector 1 0 or I. Now how to find the eigenvalues when an operator is given? Consider the operator t x1 x2 equal to 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2 on R2. Taking the standard basis, we know the matrix is 2 minus 1 2 5. To solve for eigenvalues, we use the equation Tx is equal to lambda x. It becomes 2 minus 1 2 5 multiplied to the column matrix x1 x2 equal to lambda times the column matrix x1 x2 equal to lambda 0 0 lambda multiplied to the column matrix x1 x2. This is rewritten and can be written in the form the matrix 2 minus lambda minus 1 2 5 minus lambda acting on the vector x1 x2 equal to 0 0. Using the rules in the matrix method of solving linear equations, and if you want a non-zero solution for a homogeneous system of equations, the coefficient matrix must be singular. So we get the determinant 2 minus lambda minus 1 2 5 minus lambda equal to 0, which is simplified to the equation lambda square minus 7 lambda plus 12 equal to 0. The solutions are lambda equal to 3 and lambda equal to 4, and these are the eigenvalues of the operator T. Now generally, if you have a matrix A, B, C, D representing an operator T on R2, how to get the eigenvalues? First, you write the equation determinant A minus lambda B C D minus lambda equal to 0. That is the determinant of T minus lambda I equal to 0. This equation is called the characteristic equation. Characteristic equation means that equation gives you the eigenvalues, and the eigenvalues determine the actual character of the operator. That's why we call the equation to be a characteristic equation. Now, how to find the eigenvectors? We consider the same operator. 2 minus 1 2 5 is the matrix. The eigenvalues are 3 and 4. We know to get the eigenvectors, we have to solve the equations t minus 3i x equal to 0 and t minus 4i x equal to 0. The non-zero vectors x satisfying these equations are eigenvectors. What is eigenvector of 3? So we consider the equation t minus 3i x equal to 0. That is simplified to minus 1 2 2 acting on the vector x1 x2 equal to 0 0, and this will reduce to the situation x1 plus x2 equal to 0. x1 equal to 1 and x2 equal to minus 1 can be a choice. So 1 minus 1 or the column matrix 1 minus 1 is an eigenvector corresponding to the eigenvalue 3. Similarly, if you find the eigenvector for the eigenvalue 4, you get this equation t minus 4i x equal to 0 reduces to the equation 2x1 plus x2 equal to 0. For this, x1 equal to 1 and x2 equal to minus 1 will be a choice. So you can write 1 minus 2 or the column matrix 1 minus 2 to be an eigenvector corresponding to the eigenvalue 4. Method to find the eigenvectors in the general case. Suppose T is a linear operator and on R2 and ABCD is the corresponding matrix. We write the equations T minus lambda 1 x equal to 0 and T minus lambda 2 x equal to 0. A minus lambda 1 B C D minus lambda 1 x1 x2 equal to 0 0 will give values of x1 x2 and that will give the eigenvector corresponding to the eigenvalue lambda equal to lambda 1. Similarly, T minus lambda 2 x equal to 0 will give the equation A minus lambda 2 B C D minus lambda 2 acting on the vector x1 x2 equal to 0 0 and that will give you a relationship connecting x1 and x2 from which the eigenvector corresponding to the eigenvalue lambda equal to lambda 2 can be found. Now what is diagonalization? The eigenvectors corresponding to different eigenvalues are linearly independent. So if an operator has got as many different eigenvalues as the dimension of the vector space, the corresponding eigenvectors form a basis of the vector space. And it is interesting to find that the corresponding matrix corresponding to the eigenvectors as basis, you can find a matrix and that matrix will be a diagonal matrix in which the diagonal entries are nothing but the eigenvalues. So, to write the different columns of the matrix, that means the eigenvectors are to be arranged. If you want to write the first column, the first eigenvector must be taken. To write the second column, the second eigenvector must be taken in that way. So, in order to write the different columns of the matrix, the question is there any specific order to be followed on the eigenvectors? The answer is yes. We should take the eigenvalues in the decreasing order. So, the corresponding eigenvectors we will find and the corresponding eigenvectors will give you the order of the eigenvector and that set of basis vectors will give a matrix representation of the operator and that matrix representation will be actually a diagonal matrix in which the diagonal entries are nothing but the eigenvalues in the decreasing order of values. This is called the diagonalization of the operator. Now let us see what will be the diagonalization of the operator we were considering so far. T x1 x2 equal to 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2 on R2. The eigenvalues we know are 4 and 3. The corresponding eigenvectors are 1 minus 2 and 1 minus 1. So we will take these two as the basis vectors and by the theory we can already see that the corresponding diagonal matrix will be 4 0 0 3. Let us see how the action of this matrix on the eigenvectors will be. So 4 0 0 3 acting on the vector 1 minus 2 equal to 4 times the vector 1 minus 2. 4 0 0 3 acting on the second eigenvector 1 minus 1 equal to 3 times that eigenvector. The basis vectors are multiplied by the eigenvalues when acted by the operator. The operator T x1 x2 equal to 2x1 minus x2, 2x1 plus 5x2 on R2. When you consider that the matrix corresponding to the standard basis of R2 is A equal to 2 minus 1 2 5, which was already found, and the matrix corresponding to the basis formed by the eigenvectors is D equal to the diagonal matrix 4 0 0 3. These two matrices have many interesting properties. Both of them have the same determinant. The determinant of A is easily calculated as 2 into 5 minus 1 into 2, which is equal to 12. And the determinant of D is directly found as the product of the diagonal entries, that is 12. So both are having the same determinant. The two matrices are similar matrices. What is meaning of similar matrices? You say the two matrices A and B are similar if there exists an invertible matrix P such that AP equal to PD or P inverse AP equal to D. That equation will be satisfied with a suitable invertible matrix P. Let us see how that invertible matrix is found. Consider the operator T x1 x2 equal to 2 x1 minus x2 2 x1 plus 5 x2 on R2, which we were considering so far. The matrix A 2 minus 1 2 5 is the matrix representation of the operator using standard basis of R2, and D equal to 4 0 0 3 is the diagonalization of the operator T, that means the matrix representation using the eigenvectors taken as basis. If A is the matrix corresponding to the standard basis and D is the diagonalization, the invertible matrix P is found as follows. Just write the eigenvectors in the order of decreasing eigenvalues as the columns. The matrix obtained is P. So we will write the eigenvectors 1 minus 2 and 1 minus 1 as the first and second columns to get the matrix P. Let us check whether the similarity condition is satisfied or not. What is AP? AP equal to 2 minus 1 2 5 multiplied to the matrix 1 1 minus 2 minus 1. That you can calculate as 4 3 minus 8 3 minus 3. PD equal to 1 1 minus 2 minus 1 multiplied to 4 0 0 3, and that is equal to 4 3 minus 8 minus 3. Thus you get AP equal to PD, or the two matrices A and D are similar. What is the advantage of diagonalization? If the standard basis is used, the geometrical effect of the operator need not be easy to understand. We have seen this using many graphs plotted. The same operator which we were considering 2x1 minus x2 2x1 plus 5x2 on R2 had the images of the standard basis vectors as 2 2 and minus 1 5 if you use the standard basis. But if you use the eigenvectors as the basis, you get the first eigenvector, that is 1 minus 2, was multiplied by 4, and the second eigenvector was multiplied by 3. That means if you take the eigenvectors as basis, the operator just reduces to multiplication by suitable scalars along the new basis vectors. That means instead of taking I and j directions, that is the original x and y axis directions, if you turn the coordinate axis to the directions of the eigenvectors, you can get the operator transforming points in such a way that each point is multiplied along the same direction. Now, eigen means own, one's own. So the eigenvector means the own vector of the operator, and that reflects the entire character of the operator. So actually the eigenvalues and eigenvectors are reflecting the entire character of the operator if properly observed. Instead of observing the vector space along the standard basis vectors direction, if you observe the vector space along a new direction or new directions, the operator can be understood in a very simple manner. It just acts as multiplication by some suitable numbers. And which are the directions that are given by the eigenvectors? What are the scaling factors that are given by the eigenvalues? The eigenvalues and eigenvectors thus help us to understand the operator in the most simple manner. They actually transform the operator to scaling operators along new various directions. With this, I conclude this session. Thank you.